My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The fire alarm didn't wake me. The bank message did. Emergency withdrawal, $18,000. At 2:17 a.m., I remember staring at my phone in the dark. My house smelled like something strange. Sharp, bitter, burning. Then I heard it. A crack. Another. And suddenly, smoke. Thick. Black. Hungry. I tried to stand, but I coughed so hard I dropped the phone. My home, 42 years, gone before I even understood what was happening. By the time the firefighters pulled me outside, barefoot and shaking, the roof had already collapsed. I stood across the street in my nightgown, watching my life burn. And my son, he didn't answer my call. Not once. I called 3 times. Then his wife. Voicemail. That was the first time the thought came to me. Why was I alone? The neighbors were filming. I saw Mrs. Patterson from 2 houses down holding her phone up. Recording. Someone whispered, "Isn't her son a contractor?" Another voice, "He should have upgraded her wiring years ago." I felt something worse than smoke in my lungs. Embarrassment. Humiliation. I wanted to scream. He was busy. He works hard. He takes care of his own family. I didn't raise him to abandon me. But I said nothing. I just stood there and watched everything I built turn to ash. At 3:40 a.m., my phone buzzed again. Not from my son. From the bank. Access to shared emergency account removed. Removed. I blinked. Shared account? That was the account he insisted we create last year. For safety, Mom, he said. In case something ever happens. Something happened, and I was locked out. When he finally called at 6:12 a.m., his voice sounded irritated. Mom, I was asleep. What's going on? I swallowed. Our house burned down. Silence. Then, your house. Not ours. Yours. I noticed that. I tried calling. I had my phone on silent. I could hear his wife in the background. What happened? She asked. He covered the phone. Muffled voices. Then he came back. Okay, don't panic. We'll figure something out. Figure something out. Like I was a problem to solve. Not his mother standing barefoot on cold pavement. By 8 a.m., I was sitting in the back of a Red Cross van. They gave me a blanket, a plastic bag with toiletries, and a form to sign. Do you have family nearby? The volunteer asked gently. I hesitated. Yes. Can they take you in? I thought of my son's house. The guest room that used to be my sewing room before they remodeled. The crib they set up last year. The way his wife said, we're trying to keep things minimalist. I nodded slowly. Yes, I'll call him. When I arrived at his house, the smart doorbell camera turned toward me. I looked up at it. It felt like being watched by a stranger. The door didn't open right away. I could hear movement inside. Whispering. Then finally he opened it halfway. Mom. No hug. No tears. Just tension. His wife stood behind him. Arms folded. We weren't expecting you this early, she said. I blinked. My house burned down. She smiled politely. Yes, we heard. That's terrible. Terrible. Like bad weather. They let me in. But something felt different. Off. My son kept checking his phone. His wife kept glancing at him. Finally I said softly, Can I stay here for a little while? Silence. He cleared his throat. We need to talk about that. Talk. About that. I felt heat rise in my chest. Not from fire. From shame. Just until insurance. Mom, he interrupted. It's not that simple. His wife stepped forward. We have routines. The baby's sleep schedule. My online work. It's just a lot. A lot. I wanted to say. After everything I sacrificed. After the nights I worked double shifts. After I paid for his college. After I watched his son so they could go on vacation. But I didn't. I stayed quiet. To keep the peace. Maybe, she continued carefully, a short-term rental would be better? With what money? I asked before I could stop myself. My son's eyes shifted. The emergency account was for repairs and upgrades, not relocation. You removed me from it. Another silence. His jaw tightened. It's complicated. Complicated. That word again. What's complicated? I asked. His wife answered instead. Mom, we had to protect our finances. Protect. From me? I stood up slowly. My hands were shaking. Are you saying I can't stay here? My son looked at the floor. We just think it's better if you figure out something temporary. Temporary, like I was. And that's when my phone buzzed again. A WhatsApp notification from the family group chat. I hadn't checked it since last night. There were 36 unread messages. I opened it. Photos. Smoke. My house burning. Neighbors commenting. And one message from my daughter-in-law. Posted at 4:03 a.m. Please keep Nana May in your prayers. We're trying to figure out next steps. Trying. But I wasn't even there. They were discussing my future. Without me. I looked up slowly. Why was I the last to know? Neither of them answered. My son whispered, Mom, don't make this harder than it is. Harder than losing everything? Then his wife said something I will never forget. We can't keep rescuing you. Rescuing? I felt something inside me break. I never asked to be rescued. I asked for help. From my own son. I picked up my small Red Cross bag. Walked toward the door. The smart camera turned again. Watching. Recording. Proof. My son reached out slightly. Mom, where are you going? I stopped. I didn't look back. I don't know yet. And that was the truth. But as I stepped outside, my phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. A text. Mrs. May, we need to speak regarding the property title. Property title? My house just burned down. What property? And why did the message end with, your son already contacted us? I wish I could say it ended there. It didn't, because what I discovered the next morning made the fire look small. The lawyer's office smelled like polished wood and secrets. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. But this is where I realized the fire wasn't the real disaster. It was the paperwork. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in a small motel the Red Cross arranged for 2 days. The carpet smelled old. The sheets were stiff. I kept waking up thinking I smelled smoke again. But what haunted me wasn't the fire. It was that message. Your son already contacted us. About the property title. At 9:15 a.m., I was sitting across from a young woman in a navy blazer. Mrs. May, she said gently, I'm sorry for your loss. Loss. Like it was a death. In order to process the insurance and reconstruction, she continued, we need clarification on ownership. Ownership? I frowned. It's my house. She hesitated. According to county records, the property was transferred 8 months ago. Transferred? My ears rang. To whom? I whispered. She looked down at her screen. To your son. Silence. The kind that presses against your chest. That's not possible, I said slowly. I never signed anything. She turned her monitor slightly toward me. There it was. My name. My address. A digital signature. Dated 8 months ago. I stared at it. Read it again. Then again. Signed. Transferred. Finalized. I didn't sign this. She studied my face. Do you recall attending a document signing last summer? Perhaps at a notary? Last summer. I remembered a barbecue at my son's house. He had handed me an iPad. Just updating emergency contacts, Mom, for legal stuff. In case something ever happens. I had tapped my name. Signed with my finger. Trusted. My stomach dropped. That wasn't an emergency contact form, I whispered. The lawyer cleared her throat. If the transfer stands, the insurance payout will go to the legal owner. My son, not me. After 42 years of mortgage payments, after everything I sacrificed, I felt heat rise in my face. Not anger yet. Humiliation. How stupid could I be? I didn't raise him like this, I said softly. The lawyer didn't respond. She just slid a printed copy across the desk. Would you like to contest the transfer? Contest? Fight my own son? I need to speak to him first. When I called, he answered immediately this time. Mom, I was just about to call you. Oh, about what? A pause. The lawyer reached out, didn't she? So he knew. You transferred my house, I said calmly. It wasn't like that. What was it like? Silence. Then, it was for protection. Protection. Again that word. From who? I asked. He lowered his voice. Mom, your memory hasn't been the same. My hand tightened around the phone. My memory? You forgot to pay the electricity bill twice last year. Once. I forgot once. After my surgery. His wife's voice came faintly through the speaker. Tell her the truth. My son sighed. We were worried you'd mismanage things. Mismanage? My own house. The one I paid for. The one that burned while I stood alone. And instead of talking to me, I said, you transferred it? It was safer this way. Safer for who? I realized then. This wasn't about the fire. This wasn't about temporary housing. This was about control. Power. And I was the only one who didn't know. Why was I the last to know? I returned to his house that afternoon. I didn't knock. The smart camera blinked red as I walked up. Recording again. When he opened the door, his expression wasn't guilt. It was irritation. Mom, we discussed this. No, I said quietly. You discussed it. Without me. His wife appeared behind him. We were trying to help. By taking my house? It was a strategic decision. Strategic. Like I was an investment portfolio. Show me the documents, I said. They're already filed. I want to see what I signed. He hesitated, then stepped aside. At the kitchen table, he pulled up the file on his laptop. There was my digital signature. But something else caught my eye. A clause. In small text. In the event of structural damage or total loss, reconstruction decisions will be made solely by the legal owner. Solely. So if the house burns down, I said slowly, I have no say. He didn't answer. His wife did. It's simpler that way. Simpler for them. My chest tightened. You planned this. His face hardened. That's unfair. Is it? Silence. Then something shifted in his tone. Mom, the house needs to be sold. Sold? It's not practical to rebuild. It's my home. It was. That word. Was. I felt small. Smaller than I did standing in my nightgown watching flames eat my roof. At least then, the fire was honest. This was quiet. Calculated. You'll get a portion, he said quickly. A portion. For your care. Care. Like I was already fading. I'm not dying, I said softly. We're just planning ahead. Without me. Again. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak. When were you going to tell me? He didn't answer. His wife looked down. We thought it would upset you. So they hid it. For my own good. I walked toward the door. This time he didn't stop me. But as I stepped outside, his wife said something under her breath. She wouldn't understand the bigger picture. I turned. I understand betrayal. Her face went pale. That evening, I returned to the lawyer's office. I want to contest it, I said. She nodded slowly. It won't be easy. I'm not looking for easy. For the first time since the fire, I felt something different. Not anger. Not shame. Clarity. She leaned forward. There is one more thing you should know. My stomach tightened. What? She clicked another file open. The transfer wasn't the only document filed last summer. My breath stopped. What else? She met my eyes. A preliminary power of attorney. Signed. In my name. Granting full financial control. To. My son. The room spun slightly. Power of attorney. I never agreed to that. I never even discussed it. And if that document was active, then what else had he touched? My retirement? My savings? My life? I looked at the date again. 8 months ago. The same barbecue. The same iPad. The same emergency update. I had trusted him. Without question. I swallowed hard. Is it active? She nodded. Yes. And can he? Access your accounts. Make decisions. Sign contracts. Without me. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. The fire didn't just burn my house. It burned my illusion. My son wasn't protecting me. He was positioning himself. And I had signed the match. I closed my eyes, then opened them again. No more surprises, I said. She gave a small nod. There may be one more. My heart pounded. What? She turned the screen toward me. 3 weeks before the fire, a construction assessment was ordered. Ordered? By the legal owner. My son. And under notes it said, foundation instability. High fire risk. Consider redevelopment opportunity. Redevelopment. Opportunity. Before the fire. He knew. I stared at the words. Slowly. Carefully. Then I whispered. When did he know my house might burn? And that was the question that changed everything. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The email came at 6:42 a.m. I opened it slowly, thinking it might be spam. But the subject line froze me. Redevelopment proposal, preliminary interest confirmed. It wasn't sent to me. It was forwarded accidentally by my daughter-in-law. My hands shook as I opened the attachment. There it was, my address, my lot number, my burned house, and next to it a projected value, 3 times what the property had ever been worth. 3 times. After redevelopment, after demolition, after the fire. My chest tightened. Why was I the last to know? I stared at the screen again. There was no greeting, no explanation, just a tiny note. Oops. Please disregard. Disregard. How do you disregard your own home being labeled a redevelopment opportunity? I called my daughter-in-law first. No answer. I called my son. Second ring. Mom, I was just about to call. About what? I said, keeping my voice steady. Silence. Then carefully. That email wasn't meant for you. I let that sit. Clearly. He exhaled slowly. Mom, you're misunderstanding. Then explain it to me. It's just a proposal, dated 2 weeks before my house burned. Silence. The kind of silence that feels like guilt wrapped in calm words. You had an inspection done, I said quietly. For safety. It was routine, he replied. Routine? And you didn't think I should know. We didn't want to worry you. That sentence again. Hidden. For my own good. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I lowered my voice instead. When did I become too fragile for the truth? He didn't answer. Later that afternoon, I went back to the family group chat. New messages, photos, sketches, and a message from my niece. Wow, this will look amazing once rebuilt. Rebuilt. They were planning my home's future without me. Scrolling further, I found a message from my son, sent 3 weeks before the fire. Inspection confirmed foundation issues. Might be time to think long term. 3 weeks. 3 weeks before everything changed. And I had been kept in the dark. Humiliation crawled up my spine. They all knew. Cousins, in-laws, everyone except me. Why was I the last to know? I typed a message, deleted it, typed again, deleted again. Finally, when were you planning to tell me? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, my daughter-in-law replied, we didn't want to stress you during recovery. Recovery? I had minor surgery. I wasn't dying. But apparently, knowing about my own home's future was too much. That evening, I returned to the burned property. Charred beams jutted like broken bones. I stepped carefully over the gravel. A man in a hard hat approached. Ma'am, you shouldn't be here. I lived here, I said, voice shaking. Oh, I'm sorry. Site evaluation team, he said. Who hired you? He checked his clipboard. Property owner. My throat tightened. My son. Yes, ma'am. Evaluation. Already? Without my knowledge. Are you assessing rebuild options? I asked. Mostly demolition feasibility, he said. Demolition. So fast. So certain. Like they were waiting for this. My phone buzzed again. A bank alert. A large transfer. From my retirement account. Unauthorized. Power of attorney. I had given him trust. Not control. I sat on a broken concrete block. Ashes shifting beneath me. You think I can't manage my own life, I whispered. It's not that. It is, I said softly. Silence. Then, we're planning for the future. My future. Without permission. I ended the call. And for the first time since the fire, I didn't cry. I opened my laptop. Checked old documents, bank statements, account activity. Small transfers. Then larger. Gradually, methodically, he had taken over. At 11:17 p.m., another email arrived. This one wasn't a mistake. Addressed to both of us. We are prepared to move forward once demolition is cleared. Demolition. Cleared. I hadn't cleared anything. Reading the fine print, I realized my house, once worth $380,000, was now projected at $1.2 million. My trust had been weaponized. A thought crept in. What if the fire wasn't an accident? I hated myself for thinking it. But timing, inspection, redevelopment proposal, power of attorney, retirement transfers, it felt like a puzzle. And I was the missing piece. Next morning, I went to the lawyer. I need to revoke the power of attorney. She nodded. We can begin immediately. But be prepared. Your son will be notified. Good. Let him know. For once, let him be the last to know. Leaving her office, my phone buzzed. Call from my son. Already. Mom, what did you do? I didn't answer immediately. Silence is a weapon. I'm protecting myself, I said softly. His inhales sounded sharp. You're making a mistake. No, I replied. I think I already made that mistake 8 months ago. A pause. Then, if you fight this, things will get complicated. Complicated. That word again. Are you threatening me? I'm saying you don't know everything. My chest tightened. What don't I know? He hesitated. The fire report isn't final yet. What does that mean? It means you might not want investigators looking too closely. I stopped breathing. Why? Another pause. Then, because if they do, they might find something that hurts you. Hurts me? I was already hurt. I whispered, what did you do? He had hung up. And that was the moment I realized this wasn't just about money, control, or exclusion. There was something bigger, darker, connected to the fire itself. And whatever it was, he was afraid. The secret in the basement. My name is Nana Mae, and this happened to me. I didn't sleep that night. Every time my eyes closed, I saw the charred walls of my house, the email, the bank alerts. My son's words echoed in my head. If they investigate, they might find something that hurts you. Hurts me? How much more could hurt me? By morning, I had made a decision. I couldn't wait for answers. I needed to see the property. Not just the ashes, but anything they might be hiding. The gate was unlocked. That wasn't unusual. My son always claimed it was for safety inspections. But as I walked toward the remains, I noticed something strange. The basement door was slightly ajar. Basements weren't part of the redevelopment plan. At least not officially. I crouched down, peering into the darkness. My heart thumped against my ribcage. I could see debris, charred furniture, and something metallic glinting in the corner. I stepped inside, careful. The smell of smoke mixed with something else, damp, iron-like. My hands trembled as I reached for the object. It was a safe, heavy, locked. My pulse raced. Who kept a safe in my own basement? And why hadn't they told me? I searched for a key. None. I searched for a code. My son never shared it. So I did the only thing I could. I called the locksmith. While waiting, I noticed scraps of paper scattered among the debris. Receipts, old letters, and one that made me stop cold. A document in my son's handwriting, dated the week before the fire, labeled insurance claim, property assessment. Insurance, assessment, fire. My stomach twisted. The locksmith arrived. 15 minutes later, the safe clicked open. Inside, folders, photos, and a small USB stick. I grabbed the USB, hands shaking, plugged it into my laptop. Files opened, photos of the basement, notes about wiring, and then a video. The footage made my stomach drop. My son, in the basement, checking the wiring near the furnace. Smoke, sparks, and a figure I couldn't see clearly, moving behind him. Then the fire. I froze. Was this? The next file was even worse. A scanned insurance policy. My name, signed the payout amount. And a note. Activation contingent on total loss. I felt bile rise in my throat. Total loss. My home. My memories. My life. And they were ready to claim it without me knowing. My phone buzzed. A WhatsApp message from my daughter-in-law. Mom, please, don't dig further. It's better for everyone. Better? For who? I typed back. I deserve to know the truth. No reply. I sat on the cold concrete floor, staring at the files. My son had planned, months in advance, every detail, every document, every precaution, and they thought I wouldn't notice. That's when I remembered the bank alert, the large withdrawal, the retirement account, the redevelopment proposal, everything connected. But there was one more thing. The USB contained a hidden folder, family secrets. I opened it hesitantly. Inside were letters, confessions, photos of my husband, my son, and someone else I recognized from my neighborhood. Names scratched out, dates circled, evidence of deception, betrayal, and manipulation I couldn't yet understand. My hand shook. I was trembling, yes, but not from fear. From anger, from humiliation, from the realization that I had been kept in the dark for my entire life, and now, my own son was the orchestrator. I called my lawyer immediately. We need to freeze everything, I said, voice firm. Accounts, properties, all of it. And we need a forensic investigation on the fire. She agreed. It will be messy. Messy is fine, I said. I've been ignored too long. Later that night, I sat in the charred ruins, USB in hand, planning my next move. Every revelation was a weapon, every secret a shield. And then the knock came. A soft, hesitant tap at the door. Mom, my heart skipped. It wasn't my son. Not yet. It was someone else. Someone who knew what I had found. Someone who had been waiting for me to take action. I opened the door, and the figure whispered, barely audible, "You don't know the half of it." And just like that, everything I thought I knew about my family, about my son, about my home, shifted. I realized the fire was only the beginning. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The knock on my door hadn't stopped echoing in my mind. I didn't know who it was, but every instinct told me this was about the secrets I had uncovered. I gripped the USB like a lifeline and stepped outside into the cold night air. Shadows stretched across the driveway. The figure was small, cautious, almost hesitant. "Mom, it's me," a whisper said. My heart skipped. It wasn't my son. It was my daughter-in-law. "I saw what you found," she murmured, eyes darting toward the ruins of the house. "You shouldn't have seen it yet." "Shouldn't have seen it?" I repeated, voice sharp. "My home burned. My accounts are drained. My family lied to me. And you're telling me I shouldn't have seen it." She flinched. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" "Complicated is letting my own son orchestrate my life, like I'm invisible." Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them back. I wasn't about to cry in front of someone who had been part of the deception. "You don't understand," she said softly. "I didn't want to hurt you. He's doing this for reasons you can't imagine." I laughed bitterly. "Reasons? I spent my whole life protecting this family. And now I'm the last to know about everything. The fire, the bank transfers, the redevelopment. I'm supposed to believe it's for my own good." Her lips quivered. "You don't know the half of it." That phrase hit me like a punch. "The half of it? Then tell me. Now." She hesitated. Finally, her voice broke. "It wasn't just the fire." I froze. "What do you mean?" "There were others involved. People outside the family. People who wanted your property too." My chest tightened. Rage and fear collided. "Others?" "Yes. And he made choices to protect you. Or at least, he thought he was protecting you." "Protecting me?" I shouted. "From what? From the truth? From my own life?" She flinched but nodded. "The insurance. The redevelopment. The everything. It's bigger than you know." I stepped closer. "Then explain it. Why was I kept in the dark? Why wasn't I included?" She looked down, voice barely audible. "Because if you knew, you would have stopped him." A silence fell, heavy and suffocating. I realized something terrifying. For the first time, I wasn't just the victim. I was a threat. And now, I whispered. "Now," she said, "you have the USB. You know more than anyone. And he's afraid of what you'll do next." Afraid. My son afraid of me. My own child. I took a deep breath. My hand shook, but my resolve hardened. "Then I will make sure the truth comes out." Her eyes widened. "Mom, you don't know what that will unleash." I looked at the ruins of my home, at the ashes of everything I had built. "Let it come," I said. "I've stayed quiet too long." Later that night, I called my lawyer. I didn't even bother hiding my anger. "We need to move fast. Freeze accounts. Investigate the fire. And I want a copy of everything involving my son." She paused. "Nana, are you sure you want to go this far?" "Yes. I've been invisible for too long. Now it's my turn." The call ended. I sat in the ruins, USB in hand, staring at the darkened sky. The wind whispered through the broken beams. Then my phone buzzed. A notification I hadn't expected. A new email from an unknown sender. Subject line: meet me at the property before sunrise, or everything ends differently. I stared. My heart pounded. Fear, anger, curiosity. Everything I thought I knew about my family, about my son, about the fire was about to change. And I realized this confrontation was only the beginning. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The email haunted me all night. Meet me at the property before sunrise, or everything ends differently. I didn't know who had sent it, but the threat was clear. I barely slept, tossing and turning, imagining every possible scenario. My heart kept thumping as if it had its own agenda. Fear, anger, a strange thrill, the kind that comes when you know the truth is finally within reach. By 5:15 a.m., I was at the edge of the property. The basement ruins looked even more desolate in the pale light of dawn. Smoke still curled faintly from corners untouched by the fire, twisting like ghosts of my past. The USB burned in my pocket, a dangerous treasure. And then I saw him. Not my son, not the familiar face I expected. A man in a dark coat, hood pulled low, waiting near the garage. My pulse jumped. "Your Nana May?" he asked, voice low, almost urgent. "Yes," I said, stepping closer. "Who are you?" He hesitated. Then he removed his hood, revealing a face I recognized from the neighborhood. Mr. Farouk, a real estate consultant my son had used for the redevelopment. "I have information you need, and I think you already know some of it." I clutched the USB tighter. "Explain." "Now." He nodded toward the ruins. "Your son, he didn't act alone. There were others. Investors, consultants, even lawyers, some of whom falsified documents. The fire, the insurance, the bank transfers, it was all planned. To look accidental, to make it seem like misfortune. But it wasn't. And you were never supposed to find out." My stomach twisted. Every file, every photo, every document I had discovered over the past days clicked into place. Betrayal, deception, control, and worse, humiliation. "You knew," I whispered. "I knew bits," he said. "But I didn't realize he was going to risk everything, even your life, to get what he wanted." I couldn't breathe. My hand shook as I realized the full extent. The fire, the accounts, the hidden safe, the letters. They hadn't just been keeping me in the dark. They had been erasing my presence, my authority, my family's history. I had to see it for myself. "Show me." He led me to a hidden panel behind the garage. A narrow staircase descended into a storage room, untouched by the fire. Inside, rows of files, ledgers, and documents lay meticulously organized. Photos of my home before, during, and after the fire. Bank statements, emails, contracts signed in my name without my consent. I sank to the floor, shaking. "All this, they did this to me? They thought you'd never look," he said. "That fear, grief, or loyalty would keep you silent. But here you are." Anger surged through me, burning hotter than the fire had ever burned. My hands clenched into fists. Humiliation mixed with resolve. They underestimated me. "Why are you showing me this?" I demanded. He looked down. "Because if you don't act, everything your son set in motion will be irreversible. There are clauses, deadlines, documents. If you delay, the insurance money goes fully to them, the redevelopment takes over, and your claims are null. You need leverage." Leverage. My mind raced. The USB, the documents, the hidden footage. For the first time, I realized I had power, not just to expose, but to protect, to retaliate. But then my phone buzzed. Another WhatsApp message. From my daughter-in-law. "Mom, don't trust him. He isn't who he seems." I froze. Was this a warning? Or another manipulation? Could I trust Mr. Farouk? Or was he just another player in my son's carefully constructed game? I looked around the storage room. Evidence everywhere. My past, my home, my dignity, all in these files. I realized the humiliation, the anger, the betrayal, they weren't just mine to feel. They were tools, weapons. I had choices now. I could wait, stay quiet, and risk losing everything. Or I could act. And I would act. I made a decision. I would confront my son, face to face, but not blindly, armed with every secret, every document, every proof of his manipulations. As I turned to leave, Mr. Farouk stopped me. Be careful. He's unpredictable. And he knows someone has seen the USB. I nodded. Silence filled the room. The sun had begun to rise. Light streamed in through cracks in the walls, illuminating the chaos and the power I now held. And then, as I stepped outside, I heard the unmistakable sound of a car approaching fast. My blood ran cold. My pulse raced. It wasn't Mr. Farouk. It was my son. And he knew. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The email haunted me all night. Meet me at the property before sunrise, or everything ends differently. I didn't know who had sent it, but the threat was clear. I barely slept, tossing and turning, imagining every possible scenario. My heart kept thumping as if it had its own agenda. Fear, anger, a strange thrill, the kind that comes when you know the truth is finally within reach. By 5:15 a.m., I was at the edge of the property. The basement ruins looked even more desolate in the pale light of dawn. Smoke still curled faintly from corners untouched by the fire, twisting like ghosts of my past. The USB burned in my pocket, a dangerous treasure. And then I saw him. Not my son, not the familiar face I expected. A man in a dark coat, hood pulled low, waiting near the garage. My pulse jumped. "Your Nana May?" he asked, voice low, almost urgent. "Yes," I said, stepping closer. "Who are you?" He hesitated. Then he removed his hood, revealing a face I recognized from the neighborhood. Mr. Farouk, a real estate consultant my son had used for the redevelopment. "I have information you need, and I think you already know some of it." I clutched the USB tighter. "Explain." "Now." He nodded toward the ruins. "Your son, he didn't act alone. There were others. Investors, consultants, even lawyers, some of whom falsified documents. The fire, the insurance, the bank transfers, it was all planned. To look accidental, to make it seem like misfortune. But it wasn't. And you were never supposed to find out." My stomach twisted. Every file, every photo, every document I had discovered over the past days clicked into place. Betrayal, deception, control, and worse, humiliation. "You knew," I whispered. "I knew bits," he said. "But I didn't realize he was going to risk everything, even your life, to get what he wanted." I couldn't breathe. My hand shook as I realized the full extent. The fire, the accounts, the hidden safe, the letters, they hadn't just been keeping me in the dark. They had been erasing my presence, my authority, my family's history. I had to see it for myself. "Show me." He led me to a hidden panel behind the garage. A narrow staircase descended into a storage room, untouched by the fire. Inside, rows of files, ledgers, and documents lay meticulously organized. Photos of my home before, during, and after the fire. Bank statements, emails, contracts signed in my name without my consent. I sank to the floor, shaking. "All this, they did this to me? They thought you'd never look," he said. "That fear, grief, or loyalty would keep you silent. But here you are." Anger surged through me, burning hotter than the fire had ever burned. My hands clenched into fists. Humiliation mixed with resolve. They underestimated me. "Why are you showing me this?" I demanded. He looked down. "Because if you don't act, everything your son set in motion will be irreversible. There are clauses, deadlines, documents. If you delay, the insurance money goes fully to them, the redevelopment takes over, and your claims are null. You need leverage." Leverage. My mind raced. The USB, the documents, the hidden footage. For the first time, I realized I had power, not just to expose, but to protect, to retaliate. But then my phone buzzed. Another WhatsApp message. From my daughter-in-law. "Mom, don't trust him. He isn't who he seems." I froze. Was this a warning? Or another manipulation? Could I trust Mr. Farouk? Or was he just another player in my son's carefully constructed game? I looked around the storage room. Evidence everywhere. My past, my home, my dignity all in these files. I realized the humiliation, the anger, the betrayal, they weren't just mine to feel. They were tools, weapons. I had choices now. I could wait, stay quiet, and risk losing everything. Or I could act. And I would act. I made a decision. I would confront my son, face to face, but not blindly, armed with every secret, every document, every proof of his manipulations. As I turned to leave, Mr. Farouk stopped me. Be careful. He's unpredictable. And he knows someone has seen the USB. I nodded. Silence filled the room. The sun had begun to rise. Light streamed in through cracks in the walls, illuminating the chaos and the power I now held. And then, as I stepped outside, I heard the unmistakable sound of a car approaching fast. My blood ran cold. My pulse raced. It wasn't Mr. Farouk. It was my son. And he knew. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. By mid-morning, the property had transformed into a battlefield of secrets. My son stood across from me, silent, shoulders tense, eyes darting to every corner as if expecting the walls themselves to betray him. I held the USB like a lifeline and a weapon all at once. Every step I took felt heavier, filled with the weight of years of manipulation and betrayal. Tell me everything, I demanded. My voice was calm, but inside a storm raged. I want every detail, every name, every lie. He exhaled sharply, the first crack of fear in his perfectly composed facade. Do you really want to know? He asked. Once you hear it, there's no going back. I've already gone too far to stop now, I said. Start talking. He hesitated, and in that pause I saw it, the shift. The power I thought he always held was now mine to wield. I could feel the humiliation building, like electricity in the air. He was exposed, vulnerable, trapped by his own schemes. You think I did all this for money? He started, voice tight. For control? No. I did it to survive. To protect this family from people you'd never trust. Protect? By erasing me. I snapped. By hiding the fire, the bank transfers, my own property documents. By humiliating me at every step. His shoulders slumped slightly. I made mistakes, he admitted finally. But I did it believing it was for the best. You would have been hurt otherwise. I felt my hands clench into fists. Anger surged hotter than ever. Hurt? Do you even hear yourself? You don't get to decide who gets hurt, or who stays in the dark. He swallowed, eyes flickering to the USB in my hand. You can't expose all this. Not everyone is ready for it. I took a step closer. Ready or not, they deserve the truth. You thought you could hide behind lies, manipulate me, control everything, but this stops now. And then the humiliation peak hit. He realized I had copies, not just digital, but printed files, emails, and photos carefully arranged to tell the full story. His facade cracked. His composure faltered. I saw panic, almost childlike, flicker across his face, the same way I had felt when I discovered the first lies. You did all this, he whispered, voice trembling. Yes, I said, eyes hard. And now everyone will know. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed again. Another message. This time it was a video. From the night of the fire, captured by a neighbor's smart doorbell. Smoke, flames, shadows moving suspiciously. And there, unmistakable, my son, standing near the edge of the house, phone in hand, seemingly indifferent to the chaos. I gasped. Shock, anger, a quiet sadness that cut deeper than I expected. He looked at the video on my screen. How did you get that? He stammered. I told you, I said, voice steady. You underestimated me. You thought I'd stay silent. But I didn't. I collected every piece of the puzzle. And now you're cornered. The morning sun was high now, casting sharp light across the property. Shadows of the past, of betrayal and lies, stretched long. And in that light, I realized something crucial. My son's panic wasn't just about exposure. It was fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of public humiliation. Fear of losing his carefully constructed empire. You can't do this, he said finally, almost pleading. People will turn against you. They'll blame you. I stepped forward, closing the distance. Let them blame me. I've been invisible for too long. This ends today, not with fear, not with lies, but with truth. And just as I thought I had the upper hand, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Another message. Stop now, or everything burns faster than you think. I froze. My pulse raced. Threats, warnings, fear, they had been part of this story from the start. But I knew one thing: I could not stop. I would not stop. Because finally, after years of silence and manipulation, I held the power. And nothing, not threats, not lies, not fear, would make me give it up. Perfect. Here's Chapter 9 fully expanded, keeping the emotional peaks, humiliation, shock, and suspense intense for maximum binge-watch retention. Chapter 9, The Exposure. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. By evening, the tension in the house had become unbearable. Every creak, every flicker of light, every distant sound made my chest tighten. I held the USB tightly, knowing it contained more than just documents. It held the truth, the entire web of manipulation, betrayal, and lies my son had spun around the family for years. I'm done hiding, I whispered to myself, almost trembling with fear and adrenaline. This ends tonight. He stood across from me, suit slightly disheveled now, his calm facade finally cracked. You're making a huge mistake, he warned. Do you know what you're unleashing? I know exactly what I'm unleashing, I said firmly. I'm unleashing the truth. Everything you thought you controlled, everything you hid, everything you lied about. It all ends tonight. I stepped forward, clicking the USB into my laptop. The screen lit up with names, dates, bank transactions, and photos. Each file opened another door to betrayal. Every email and scanned document told a story of manipulation, so intricate that even I had felt powerless to stop it before. You can't, he stammered, eyes widening in fear and humiliation. I can and I will, I replied. For years, I stayed silent. I stayed invisible. I watched you play God over my life and my family. Not anymore. The first file was a contract, a falsified document signed in my name, transferring part of my property without my consent. Shock registered on his face. He tried to speak, but no words came out. The humiliation was clear. The power he had wielded for years was crumbling before him. Then came the second file, the insurance papers showing payments manipulated, claims denied, evidence hidden. My chest tightened. For a moment, I felt the quiet sadness peak, realizing just how much he had tried to control and erase me. How did you? He asked, voice barely a whisper. I watched, I listened, I collected. I refused to stay invisible any longer, I said. My voice was calm, but inside, every emotion collided: anger, fear, and a grim satisfaction. Next came the videos, smart doorbell footage, showing him near the fire that destroyed my house, moments I had only imagined in nightmares. I felt the shock reveal peak as I watched them again, but this time, I was no longer powerless. I had evidence. I had control. You're insane, he spat finally, voice breaking. You don't know what you're doing. Everyone will hate you. I smiled faintly, a cold edge to my expression. Let them. I've been hated in silence for too long. This is about truth, about dignity, about finally being seen. I pressed send on an email, copies of every file, every proof, to the lawyer, the family group chat, and trusted friends who could not be manipulated. Stop, he screamed, panic flaring now. You can't. But it was too late. The exposure had begun. Within minutes, messages started pinging. Notifications flooded my phone. Family members I trusted, friends I thought were neutral, all reacting to the truth, all realizing the scale of manipulation that had been happening behind closed doors. I watched him, humiliation consuming him. Anger, fear, desperation. It all played across his face. For the first time, I was no longer the invisible, controlled mother. I was the one holding the power. Maybe I can fix this, he said finally, voice trembling. No, I said firmly. Fixing this is not your choice anymore. Accountability is. Another message arrived, this time from a lawyer. We need to meet immediately. Your son's actions have legal consequences. I felt a strange mix of relief and fear. The confrontation was not over, but for the first time, I had the upper hand. The power reversal arc was complete. He was cornered, vulnerable, exposed. And deep down, I knew the final chapter, the reckoning, the resolution was coming. Because once the truth is out, nothing can stop the consequences from falling. My name is Nana May, and this happened to me. The morning was heavy with tension. The house, once a place of comfort, now felt like a courtroom of truth. I held the USB in one hand, my phone buzzing constantly with messages from shocked family members and the lawyer confirming the evidence I had sent. The air was thick with expectation, fear, anger, guilt, and a quiet, simmering awe of what was finally unfolding. My son stood across from me, exhausted, his face pale, hands trembling. He had lost control of everything he thought was untouchable. My property, the finances, the family's loyalty, and now, his carefully hidden secrets. I could see him calculating, searching for an escape, but the walls were closing in. I didn't mean for it to get this far, he stammered. I was trying to protect you, to protect all of us. I shook my head, voice steady, cutting through the tension. Protect me? From what? From the truth? From the life I lived in your shadow. He looked down, shame flickering in his eyes. It was complicated. I thought if you didn't know, you'd be safe. I never wanted to hurt you. I felt anger, humiliation, and sorrow collide. For years, I had been silenced, overlooked, and manipulated. And now, finally, the truth was no longer mine alone. You underestimated me, I said softly. I've been watching, listening, learning. I stayed quiet to keep the peace, to protect the family. But silence doesn't protect. It destroys. Then the lawyer arrived. He was calm, authoritative, carrying papers that felt heavier than any weapon. He looked at my son. The evidence is irrefutable. The contracts, the bank accounts, the fire investigation, everything. There are consequences. But one thing is clear. The bigger secret is not just financial. It's legal and familial, and it changes everything. My son paled. Fear fully replaced any pretense of composure. The lawyer turned to me. Nana May, your son has been hiding the truth about your late husband's estate. There's a codicil, a hidden clause in the will. It names you as the rightful executor. That gives you full legal authority over all contested assets, including the property and accounts he tried to manipulate. He thought he could erase your authority. He was wrong. I took a deep breath. Relief and power surged through me, but it was tempered by exhaustion and sorrow. Years of betrayal, humiliation, and abandonment had led to this moment. I had dignity restored, yes, but at a cost. You see, the lawyer continued, there's one more layer. Someone has been feeding him misinformation about you, making him believe that controlling everything would somehow protect you. That person has not yet been identified. Shock, anger, confusion. My mind raced. Another layer of betrayal? Another secret? And just as quickly, the fears settled because now I had power, knowledge, and control. I would find the truth, expose it, and finally reclaim my place in this family. My son's voice broke the silence. Mom, I never wanted to hurt you. I looked at him, and for the first time, I saw a glimpse of the child I had raised beneath the facade of manipulation. Maybe, I said softly, voice heavy with controlled pain. But you did, and you need to understand that. Every choice has consequences. The lawyer cleared his throat. Nana May, the estate is yours to manage, but your son must comply with the legal processes. And he paused, giving me a look that hinted at more revelation. There's another clause about your family's safety and security that only you can execute. I nodded, feeling a mixture of relief, grief, and empowerment. The story was not over. More secrets awaited. More power shifts would occur. But I had reclaimed my voice, my dignity, my authority. And that, I realized, was worth every tear, every humiliation, every moment of fear. I looked at my son and softly, almost whispering, said, "This is your reckoning. But it's also mine. From this moment, I am finally seen, respected, and I will not be silenced again. The house was silent except for the ticking of the clock. Shadows of the past lingered, but in the light of truth, they no longer held power over me. I exhaled, knowing this was not just the end of one chapter. It was the beginning of a new life, one built on truth, dignity, and the authority that had always been mine. And as I stepped forward, USB in hand, phone buzzing with notifications, I knew one thing. The story may have reached its climax, but the ripples of truth would continue to echo through this family for years to come. Because the power of exposure, once wielded, can never be forgotten.